Hello. Welcome to the Detroit Experience. I'm an android and I'll be your hostess. You are now ready to begin Detroit. Remember, this is not just a story. This is our future.
I'm Callie, reading for reviewer Peter Brown. Detroit Become Human posits a well-worn future when androids have become so lifelike and so deeply integrated into human society that surely it's only a matter of time and circumstance until they achieve consciousness. There isn't much time spent examining how that might be possible. Detroit is primarily focused on androids' experiences during the process of their awakening and their shock when looking at humanity with eyes unclouded for the first time. Ultimately, it's up to you to decide how they react in the face of adversity.
Good house. For your own good.
That's enough! Leave her alone.
What the fuck are you doing? Get out of here. That's an order. You hear me?
No! I want you to leave Alice alone.
It is a gameplay light experience broken up into dozens of chapters with hundreds of decisions to make during cutscenes and explorative sequences. Pivotal moments gone awry can lead some characters to premature deaths, but even small deviations can have a lasting impact. Many of the decisions may seem mundane at first, but however benign a choice may seem, they add up and gradually draw you into each character's individual experience. Detroit is purposefully designed in a disorderly fashion, leaving you with many cliffhangers throughout the game as it cycles from one character's perspective to the next at the end of every 10 to 20 minute chapter. The main characters Kara, Connor, and Marcus each bring something different to the table, and that variety ensures you're never bored and almost always surprised by what happens next. Kara, a housekeeper android belonging to an abusive, drug-addled single father, becomes a guardian on the run protecting Alice, the little girl she watches over. The fact that danger for Kara also means danger for a young child significantly raises the stakes. You strive to protect them from the worst examples of humanity gone astray, and though it's easy to identify the right choices to ensure their safety, getaways are often messy. By comparison, Connor's chapters are more personal and inquisitive. He assists a worn-out detective named Hank who loathes his presence due to a deep-seated prejudice, and the two must work together to solve a series of murders tied to rogue androids. Where Kara's owner is one-note and unbelievably harsh, Hank can be swayed to trust you over time and overcome his cynicism. It's not always easy to know what will convince him of your worth, but Hank knows better than to listen to someone who only tells him what he wants to hear.
Some what?
Therium. You call it blue blood. It's the fluid that powers androids' biocomponents. It evaporates after a few hours and becomes invisible to the naked eye.
Oh, but I bet you can still see it, can't you?
Correct.
Yeah.
Hank and Connor will regularly investigate crime scenes together where you're required to analyze your environment, gather clues, and recreate events by interpolating evidence. Not every crime scene tells a compelling story, but the process of investigation is consistently engaging. Connor's allegiance to humans and his first-hand experiences dealing with Hank's blunt hatred give you a chance to better understand both sides of Detroit's embroiled society. If there's one android in Detroit who deserves his own story to be blown up and given more screen time, it's Connor. The most pivotal character of the lot is Marcus, and while he is involved with some of Detroit's most creative scenes, he is remarkably lacking in nuance. At the start, he has the most fortunate existence. His owner is a kind, elderly painter who encourages free thought and treats Marcus as though he was his own son. Meanwhile, the painter's actual son is a complete jerk who runs the risk of ruining his father's and Marcus's well-being. This inevitably comes to pass, and it's from here that Detroit's big picture plot kicks off: the fight for android equality.
Who are you? Fugitives. Just like you.
The discussion is a valid one to have given the context at hand, but the way that the social disparity between humans and androids is conveyed in Detroit is such an on-the-nose series of references to the American civil rights movement that it's hard not to be taken aback. Androids are forced into the back of buses, segregated from some public areas and private establishments, and made to use the stairs instead of escalators for some reason. When Marcus rallies other rebellious androids and you get to pick their protest slogan, you are actually given the option to choose "We have a dream." These references are distracting, and at no point does it feel justified to lift from the history of actual people who've suffered and continue to suffer in the real world.
I came to Jericho because here androids are free. Free to live in the dark, hoping that no one finds us. free to die in silence, waiting for a change that's never gonna come.
These moments are unforgettably lame, but it's a testament to the story's strengths elsewhere that they don't completely drag the experience down as a whole.
Are you armed? Yes. I have a gun. Drop it!
Detroit excels at presenting dire situations. Danger seems to lurk around every corner, and because you are expected to react quickly under stress, you can't help but feel anxious when either Kara or Marcus are at risk of being discovered by humans after going rogue. Sometimes one misstep is all it takes to upend an otherwise peaceful chapter, and you don't want to feel responsible for triggering a chaotic turn of events.
You do as I say!
Detroit wouldn't be so effective at bringing you into its world if not for its overall stellar presentation. Some NPCs and secondary characters do stand out due to below-average production values, but it's only because most characters and scenes are so beautifully rendered. Even if Detroit stumbles on a semi-regular basis, it is almost always captivating to behold. At the end of each chapter, as well as in the pause menu, Detroit presents you with an explicit breakdown of the choices you've made. This is positioned as a feature, one that allows you to reflect on your actions and, if you so choose, to immediately go back and make different decisions. But in effect, this feedback methodology is ultimately detrimental, destroying your immersion by reminding you of the game you're playing and reducing your influence to a point score that can be traded in for unlockable character models and documentaries. There's no way to disable these flowcharts, and I really wish there was. These unavoidable flowcharts, like the blatant and cheap appropriation of American history, drag down Detroit's otherwise gripping tale. Despite being built for multiple playthroughs, it's difficult to imagine jumping back in to fix mistakes or exhaust every possible outcome for the sake of completionism. Things didn't always go the way I wanted, but that was a burden I chose to bear, and the story benefited from my commitment. Detroit has the makings of a truly memorable game, and in many ways, pieces of it will stick with me for a long time. It is too beautiful, too haunting, and too impressive to forget.